Teresa, she's been keeping an eye on those protests for us on the streets of Buenos Aires. Teresa, I see a crowd there of thousands. Tell us why quite so many people are against this package of legislation.
Well, this is the situation outside of Congress right now. You can see right behind me, there's a group of protesters here, mostly from labor unions, left-wing groups, state employees, among others, who have gathered here right outside of Congress. Many of them have been pushed by the police towards this street. If you can see towards my left, that's where Congress is located. There's hundreds of police officers deployed all around this area. They're wearing riot gear. They have already used pepper spray to try to clear some of the protesters from the street. So there's lots of tension because of this law. It's now the basis law. It includes over 250 laws that involve issues like the delegation of legislative powers to the president's, privatization of some state companies, giving foreign companies that invest in Argentina some privileges, some labor reforms, and among many other things. But when you talk to people here, there's lots of concerns about what will happen in the country. They say that they're already struggling with a difficult economic situation. Since taking office 6 months ago, Javier Milei devaluated the peso currency 50%. This sparked, in a way, increased inflation in this country even more, lifted subsidies on fuel, electricity, among other things, also cut ministries in half. So people here say what's coming next. And what's coming next is this law. It's not clear yet whether it's going to pass or not. There's lots of tension and lots of discussions ongoing in the Senate. Right now, it is an important law for the government because it will clear, in a way, a roadmap of what it wants to do in Argentina. Again, the government and Javier Milei has said that he has come to transform this country, to carry out deep reforms, to get out Argentina of the recession it is currently in. However, for many of the people that you can see right behind me that are on the streets right now, they believe that this transformation of Argentina is going to come at their expense.
Teresa, in the thick of those protests for us outside Congress in the Argentine capital. Thank you very much, Teresa. Well, let's now bring in James Grainger. He's a political analyst and editor-in-chief of the Buenos Aires Times. He joins us now from Buenos Aires. James, we know Argentina is no stranger to big protests, but I see that tear gas has already come out today. What do these thousands of demonstrators actually feel is at stake here?
I mean, it's a very difficult thing to put into a small phrase, I think, in many ways. We're definitely seeing some tension on the streets. We've seen at least 5 Peronist lawmakers, so that's the opposition at the moment, have been treated by medical staff after being tear gassed. And you can see at the moment, I think, on the streets that the security forces are trying to separate the groups of protesters in order to, kind of kettle them into certain areas, if you like. But the real thing that's at stake here is for President Milei. He has really put this into a kind of all or nothing game. It's a kind of zero-sum outcome at the moment. You could call it D-Day in many ways. The stakes are really high. I think what you're seeing is a fierce opposition to a lot of the resistance to the reforms. To outline them, quite frankly, they're too numerous. This law started at more than 600 clauses and articles, and it's now been slashed down to something near 200. And even now, the reporters that I have in Congress are hearing about things that are being dropped out of the bill, even while it's being debated. So really, how this is going to end is very much up in the air, and that's to do with the makeup of the Senate as well.
Well, James, as you say, this is a watered-down bill from what Milei wanted, from what he promised during the election. It's been a test of his negotiation skills. What's your bet on how this might go?
Well, I think so. The key thing to say here is that Milei he's in such a small minority. I mean, if we take the Senate, for example, they have 7 lawmakers from his party. That's out of 72, so it involves negotiation. If I'm quite honest, that's not the forte of the Milei administration. It's very much been my way or the highway. He's already tried to send this bill through once. He pulled it out of the lower house once it became clear that it was going to need proper renegotiation. And, the way the president is, there's nothing to say that he won't do that again. He's due to depart for the G7 tonight as a special invitee of the Italian Premier, Giorgia Meloni. But, we're hearing at the moment that his flight might be delayed as well. So we'll see exactly what this comes down to. I mean, really, they needed 36 to open quorum. They reached that. The session has begun. and they need 37 votes. And the rumors are at the moment that this could come down to a tiebreaker, and that would mean that the vice president has the casting vote, who is from Milei's party. So that's kind of where the money is looking at the moment, if you like. But, as for the desired outcome, however much of an analyst I am, it's very much like Argentina. It's impossible to predict at this juncture.
James, you use the phrase D-Day for Milei. Just how much of a political test is this for Milei and his party? Will there be political consequences for failure?
Well, I mean, the consequences are difficult to say. But, I mean, let's say that he's been in office 6 months and he hasn't had a single law, right? I mean, that is unusual, perhaps. But it also highlights the fragility of his power base, right? Really, I mean, he won the runoff, yes, but he's not got very much representation in Congress, quite frankly, and that requires negotiation. And if you say it's my way or the highway, that makes things a little bit more complicated, I would say. But yes, I mean, it's really going to come down to it's probably going to come down to one vote, which is something that we haven't seen for quite a while. I think the real consequences, if you like, to extend it a little bit, it's about foreign investors. They're really looking at this controversial investment scheme. Argentina has a reputation for being completely and utterly, unreliable if you want to be an outside investor. And they're looking for this scheme. I think this scheme would be a real sign to foreign investors that Argentina is open, ready for business and everything else. But like I say, who knows what will be pulled out at the last minute? We're already seeing that some of the state firms up for privatization are being pulled out of the bill, and we'll see what stage it gets to by the time it is passed or not.
Well, we'll continue watching very closely indeed. Lots and lots to keep an eye on in Buenos Aires today. James Grainger there, the editor-in-chief of the Buenos Aires Times. Thanks so much for joining us on the Al Jazeera News Hour, James.
No, thanks for inviting.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.